Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Still not sure how I'm going to start this podcast, whatever it's considered. I feel old, like I don't know what I'm doing. But to get started, this series is going to be called Mama Melly the Manager. And we'll dive into kind of why I picked that name and really what we want to go over during this time, what I want to go over. But overall, the reason for this podcast, or I guess the motto or the mission statement you can say, is exploring life experiences in a safe space with a Latinx female, me, in the corporate world, navigating motherhood and management. Just because that's what the motto or mission statement is, it doesn't mean that people's topics outside of that are excluded from the series. It's just more that statement's what encompasses me from a very, very high level. And I will bring others on that can speak to other topics that I haven't experienced, but I feel are important to cover as well. So episode 1, here we are. To be honest, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm recording this on my, obviously, work laptop on Zoom. And thanks to Jenna, who is a college friend who has her own podcast, she said, just do it. Like, now I understand why Nike's logo is just do it. Because if you wait to try to figure everything out and for things to be perfect before you dive into a goal or a challenge, you'll be waiting forever. So episode 1, I'm just going to call hello, because I want everyone listening to get to know me. Hopefully most of the people who are listening already know me to a degree. But I also hope that there's people tuning in that don't know me, right? So my name is Melissa Toledo, and I was born and raised in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Yes, the cheese state, Green Bay Packers. You can see backwards over here. Big Packer fan. So yeah, go Pack, go. I'm 31 years old. I went to Barry University in Miami, Florida for college. Guess I just really wanted to get away from the cold weather. Walked onto the soccer team there, had 2 degrees, graduated early. And then with my boyfriend at the time, moved here to Atlanta, where I am now. I'm currently married. We've been married. We just talked about this. My husband and I have been married 3 years this May 11th. And we have a son who we call Manny, right? His full name's Manuel. That's my father's name. And so little Manny will be 2 in August. So a lot going on. I currently am the sales manager for Latin America at Twilio. I was the first frontline manager for our region, and had no idea / still at times don't know what I'm doing. But I think that's what's going to be interesting to talk through and explore during this podcast as well, are people who either get pushed into or take on a new challenge, a new type of role. I mean, going from what we call in the sales world an individual contributor, an IC, to all of a sudden managing people. The challenges it brought, not only to myself, but also to my family, to my marriage, like so many things. And yeah, why am I doing this? I think at this current moment, I'm actually asking myself that because I'm nervous and obviously have anxiety. And so I think it's going to push me out of my comfort zone, which it's doing right now. As you can tell, I'm fidgeting. But also I've felt passionate about sharing my experiences for a while now in hopes that it can help others. I won't get into a lot of my past. Maybe one day, maybe I'll write a book about it. Honestly, there's a lot of things that I'm embarrassed by, I'm shamed by, and I don't know. I think I would like to think that many people go through a lot of things that I've gone through. But we're definitely going to start with the whole management, motherhood, pregnancy, all that kind of stuff right now. And maybe in a few episodes, farther in my past will come up, and then we can open the door to those conversations. But overall, my goal is to share stories from my point of view, and hopefully from point of views of guests that we have on, just to help others understand you're not alone in the way you're feeling, and it can resonate with people, make people laugh, make people cry. Honestly, I cry a lot. I'm a really emotional person, and cry even more, I think, now that I've had Manny. So yeah, I'm not going to apologize though. I debated apologizing just then, but being a vulnerable and emotional person is not a bad thing. The challenge I have is just being able to appropriately manage it, especially in the workplace. My team has seen me cry a few times. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, so the what. We've covered the who, me, the why, and now the what. So I guess episodes or talks on things from my pregnancy journey, others' pregnancy journeys, to eye-opening moments that made me be like, what in the corporate world? Not only as a Latina, but I think especially as a female. To learning more about myself. I thankfully through Twilio have access to a program called Better Up, which is professional career coaching. My coach is Marta. She's absolutely fantastic. I just started our 4th or 5th cohort together. She's like one of the first people I talked to upon returning to Twilio after mat leave. So she saw me at some of my really lowest emotional, physical moments. And yeah, so I'm super grateful for that. But also we have access to a program called Lyra. And so through Lyra, we can find therapists and get up to, I think, 16 free sessions. And so I definitely do that. I think I remember a distinct time when I was younger that I was like, Mom, Dad, we need to go to therapy. Like, our families has challenges. I'm going to try not to swear on this podcast. But it might be hard. So I don't know what age it was, but I do remember going. And then afterwards, my amazing father, absolutely love. He's grown so much throughout my life. He's like, like, therapy is not for Latinos, not for Hispanics. Like, we don't need therapy. We figure out our problems ourselves. And so, like, for the longest time, I did not do therapy. I think I saw someone in college. Maybe in a few episodes, I'll share the why behind it. But I think that's when I realized that, therapy can actually be really helpful. So that all to say, if you have access to a therapist, leverage it. If your work provides that benefit, leverage it. Therapy doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It's just an unbiased person to talk to about whatever the heck you want to talk about. So right now with my therapist that I see everything 3 to 4 weeks, and actually I have a new one, and I sought her out by figuring out if there were Latina or Latinx therapists in my area. And even though for obviously like certain reasons they can't identify as that, and then Lyra connect us based on ethnicity, they're like, oh, well, she offered Spanish, so maybe. I'm like, perfect. And she's been amazing. And that all again to say is that through Better Up and through therapy, I'm discovering a lot about past trauma, things that may have happened in my past that have caused me to have certain challenges now, and have just made me who I am, which is great. I struggle to be happy with who I am and where I am right now. I feel like a lot of people do, but don't or can't talk about it, but I'm getting there. Like life is truly a journey. And, if I can work on myself, my marriage, being a better mom, being a better employer or employee, like I think that's the goal, which doesn't end. It's just a continuous goal. So that's the what. Probably could go into a lot more detail, but we'll keep it at that for right now. And then the when. So as I was just scrolling one night on Instagram, which I do often, and is something else I need to definitely work on. I came across this video clip, no idea of who. Do you know how like on Instagram, you have your normal feed, which is now starting to get filled up with a lot of like ads and suggested content stuff. But then there's that little search icon. Sometimes I just go on there and I'm like, oh, what's here? Like random videos, pimple popping videos, lovey-dovey animal story videos, things like that. So I came across one, and there's this guy saying, in a nutshell, because I definitely don't remember it word for word, that if our boss asks us to do something, we do it. If, our parents asked us to do something back in the day, we usually did it. I think I had a rebel stage, but I usually did what my parents asked. They'll probably beg to differ. And if, we ask our significant other to do something, or they ask us to do something, we'll do it. But yet, whenever we put some task in front of ourselves, knowing that it's something we want to do, we don't do it. Why is that? And it's a lack, possibly, right? Possibly a lack of respect. And I think that really hit home for me because I've recently struggled with wanting to just always be doing something and feel like unless I'm doing something and accomplishing a goal or a task, like check the to-do list and not checking everything off, I'm not productive. And it's caused a lot of, arguments between my husband and I. And hearing that, I was like, that's so true. If my boss or my employer asks me to do something, I'll do it. I literally have worked myself to being so burnt out because I feel like that's what I have to do. I have to prove myself. But yet I have a list of 10 goals I have for myself, thanks to my therapist. We wrote them down. Same with my husband. One of them being this podcast. But it's April, right? We're in April. Yes, it's April. And I'm just doing my first podcast. Is it fear? Is it because I don't value myself the same as I value all these other things? And if that's it, that's wrong. And so I'm hoping that through this podcast as well, and sharing my different journeys and experiences with people and hearing from others and getting feedback from others too on the different episodes that I post, I can learn and help others learn that we can put ourselves first. And I know self-care is like a big thing right now, but I think this goes beyond just putting a bath bomb in a bathtub and taking a bath, which I did this week because this week we have off from Twilio sales break, which is in theory like a really, really nice thing, but my quota is still super high. So I don't know how much stress it relieved, but again, went down a rabbit hole. But I'm saying all of this because the when was, I think, the hardest for me of like, when am I going to do this? And I can do it. I don't know yet how I'm going to get this video out to the public. I don't know how to upload it on Instagram. I still need to open up a YouTube account. But I told myself, if I don't record something, I'm going to continue to delay it. So this is step one. My hope and my goal is to record once a month and broadcast it, publicize it, publicate it. I don't know. You're also going to find out through saying that my English is poor. I don't even know why. Maybe public schools in Wisconsin. Can I blame it on that? Haters are going to come for sure. Maybe it's speaking 2 languages daily now because of work, which is great. But anyways, last Monday of every month, my episodes will go out. And I think by putting this when in front of me, it makes it real and will hold me accountable. And hopefully all of you will hold me accountable as well. I think that's also an important thing to have in life, is someone who's going to hold you accountable and not just like say, hey, don't worry, you've been busy, it's okay. Like, it's okay, but also this is something you're doing for yourself, your mental well-being. It's a goal you have, like, make it a priority. So yeah, I think that is a high level rundown of the podcast, again, whatever it's called. Hopefully I can find different areas in my house to do this, because what you see right now, I usually have my blur screen on, but this is the corner of our now finished basement, thanks to my father, my husband, as well as a few contractors that we had. It mainly is an extra playroom for our son, because once you have kids, the crap just piles up. You just have stuff everywhere. So we're grateful enough that we had a basement. We finished it now, and I've been working from home since March 2020. Yeah, that when COVID started. Yeah. So 2020 March, been home. And I work in this spot every day of the week. So I probably won't record all of my podcasts from here, because I want to change it up, but also it's the most comfortable and already set up area in the house. So we'll see. You'll see this picture right here is a picture of my dad, my grandma, my grandpa's sister, myself, and my brother in Mexico. I am half Mexican, half American. My dad is an immigrant from Oaxaca, Mexico, from an itty bitty town called Tezuatlan de Segura y Luna. And my mom's family has been in the Midwest for some time now. Last name Parker. I feel like Parker's kind of like a long-standing American last name. And I have 2 brothers. So I have my older brother, Scott, and my younger brother, Joseph. They are both back home. I have 3 nephews. 3, yeah. 2 from Scott, 1 from Joseph. So yeah, my parents have only grand boys, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe 4 is all they're going to have. I don't know. I haven't talked to my older brothers, but yeah, having more than 1 kid, that's like a whole nother topic we will cover, because it's hard. Having a child is hard. I think, if I may share top of mind topics, but my pregnancy journey went from being told one day that due to my really restrictive diet and my obsessive working out and just a lot of different things and not having my cycle for over a year, I wouldn't get pregnant until we actually put a plan in place. Went back to the same OBGYN a month later. Surprise, I was pregnant. So we'll dive into that and like the emotions that came with that and how I greatly struggled and how I handled it. The conversations with family, friends, my husband, everything. Post-pregnancy, holy moly, the amount of emotions, suicidal thoughts, depression, the physical, my hips or hip flexors, hip tendons, whatever you want to call it. I cannot sit in my work chair with my legs crossed anymore, because after 10 minutes of doing that and uncrossing my legs, I feel like they're stuck in place and it's so painful. And I didn't realize that postpartum therapy, physical therapy, was a thing, or that you should do it if you can. So yeah, talking through that, everything to do with breastfeeding, not breastfeeding, your diet, your diet, like how to handle the changes that occur in the relationships you have with different people, your parents, your in-laws, your friends, a lot of shit goes down pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, and post-pregnancy, that like you just can't imagine how much it changes if you haven't gone through it. And again, everyone goes through their own journey. Like, I'm not saying that my experience is experience everyone goes through, but I mean, heck, I had Manny 35 minutes after getting in the hospital bed and starting to push. So I know everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah. But also then other things came to that. Manny had to get taken away because he came out so fast that like there wasn't enough compression to get all the liquid out of his lungs. And so I only held him for like a couple minutes. And like, maybe that's why initially my bond, not with him, but like with the concept of being a mom overall was like garbage. Yeah, it was tough. I think another thing that for me is really important is like embracing my Latina identity. Growing up in Wisconsin, I don't think I had, and for those watching, I still don't really fully understand the right labeling. So I will apologize for. I apologize if I mislabel, misrepresent someone, but I will say growing up, I did have certain Hispanic / Latin friends, right? And I can't say Mexican because there were more than just Mexicans in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, but they were there. I don't think, though, I really understood that I related to them or I had brown skin like them until I think it was middle school. I vaguely remember, or I have this distinct memory, and I don't know if it's one of those memories that like you make up as you grow up. I've heard that that can happen too, but I have acquaintances. I meant they were friends all through like elementary school, middle school, and even high school in my mind. And there were Hispanic guys. And I remember seeing them out on like this field that was at Denison Elementary in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And I remember seeing them and being like, why are they by themselves? But like, it didn't occur to me in that moment that that's like being with people you feel comfortable with, like being with people who look like you, and like discrimination, segregation, like things like that. And of course, we're in a way different time, but also looking back, I was like, I mean, for Christ's sakes, in high school, we had a hallway called the Mexican hallway. And back then, I was just like, all right, whatever, it's not a big deal. But I realized that was my privileged way of looking at it because I also hung out in like the new white hallway that was like all of like the more of the preppier kids and all of the like mainly the white kids. Anyway, so once I did realize that, I was like, boom, I have to have identity with a group of Latin / Hispanic people. I started dating only Latinos. I started hanging around like gangbangers and just like all the stuff. But I think since then, I've really tried to like understand what my Latina role is, or like how I fit in with that, or like embrace it. How do I pass it down to Manny? It's like, so a lot of things for that as well. And then corporate life. I'm blessed with my job. It's not the easiest, especially right now. I think there's been a lot of challenges for Twilio. But overall, I mean, I have a good job, great pay. And I feel like that's one of the things that my parents worked so hard for, was so that I could have, right, a better life. That's why my dad came here as an immigrant at age 15. And I have it, but there's a lot of things that I experienced coming up in like the corporate world. And it's been really eye-opening, and you learn a lot, and you learn a lot of how to, I don't want to say manipulate, but like play the game, and how to speak, how to who and when, and things like that. Oh, and then becoming a people manager. So full circle, and then I'll wrap it up here because I'm coming to realize I could talk for ages. Mama Melly, the manager. I feel like most Latin cultures, Hispanic cultures give nicknames. I feel like I've always had a nickname. It's either Toledo, because I played sports all of my life. So like calling someone by their last name is like such like a sport culture thing. I guess it's maybe because we have it on our jerseys. Anyways. But in college, a lot of my friends call me Melly or Mel. And then my first jobs, it was Mel. So I feel like Meli is more of like when you want to say something in Spanish, and then Mel is just Mel. It's like a very American nickname for Melissa. So Mama Mel is a name I've been called more than once, because even though I struggle being an actual mom now, like having my own blood child, I always had some type of like mom characteristics, or always making sure to look over people when we went out drinking in college. So anyways, Mama Melly comes from those two aspects: nickname Meli, and then also Mama for being like a mama bear for a lot of my friend groups and people throughout my life. And then the manager. I think being a people manager, being a manager is a really, really complex role. And it has brought many challenges to my life ever since I became a manager a year and 3 days ago. And it's an important component of who I am now. I absolutely adore my team. I think it's really hard to build a team. Everyone is so different. You can hire 5 people from like the same company, let's say Oracle, for example, and they're all different. And you don't know that until you actually have time with them. Because, and this also blows my mind, when you interview someone, they have one opportunity, but you can't, I don't believe you can truly get to know someone through one interaction. Anyway, so there's a lot of responsibilities that come with being a manager. Hiring is one of them, building a strong team, a collaborative team that gets along with each other, a team that you get along with. It's a big responsibility. And I really do think that being a frontline manager, and when I say that means like you're between the boots on the ground, which in my case are account executives, and like higher up leadership. You're that middle person that takes on a lot of responsibilities, fights for your team's needs, carries in this situation like the biggest quota. And so I felt like Mama Melly, the manager, depicts exactly where I am currently in my life, and encompasses the different topics and situations and experiences that I want to share with others. Because you might not be a mom, but you might be a manager. And you might not be a manager, but you might be a first-time mom, and you might be a stay-at-home mom. So maybe the working part isn't for you, but all in all, I really, really hope that this podcast, whatever, can resonate, can create a sense of comfort for people, can allow people to get to know me a little more, see maybe a little bit more of my vulnerable, goofy side. Because I'm usually very serious in my outside life these days, which I'm working on with my therapist, and just brings joy and brings a sense of like, okay, I'm not alone, because you're not. And the things I talk about might not resonate for you, but there has to be a podcast, a YouTube channel, a person out there that you can relate with. And I really encourage everyone to take the time to find that person, that outlet that truly does help. In the crazy world we live in today, it's necessary. Thank you all for listening. I honestly don't know how long it's been, which something I need to work on for next time. But if you have a specific topic, if you want to join for like a topic, whatever, just reach out to me. Hopefully this is going to be pushed through Instagram, a YouTube channel, as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So however you need to get a hold of me, get a hold of me. And again, thank you so much for listening in, and thank you for joining me on this journey and for holding me accountable, because I really do need that. I really do. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much.